is Dawn Marie Fleming, but I go by Mariam right now as my Muslim name. I come from a place called Stephenville, Newfoundland and Labrador. It's about 8,000 people. It's a nice little town. My family, I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. I'm the only one in my family who is converted to Islam. My upbringing as a Christian, we went to church special times, Christmas, Easter. However, my father would insist on every Sunday us going to church. As much as we sometimes fought going, we would still go. I did some volunteering. They would have these programs at the church, the Christmas shoebox. They would ask people to buy things for the children, and it had to be things that weren't too violent or like nothing like guns or knives or like this. So it was more like crayons, coloring books, stuff of that nature, candy, and we would put these boxes together. And I was so happy to be able to put one of these together and to be able to present it to a child. But little did I know that they were shipping them up and sending them over to another country. They also have these, with the Salvation Army, they would have these Christmas trees that you would go and you would pick a name. Well, actually it wasn't a name, it was a boy or a girl off a tree, and it would have the age on it, and you go and you buy them a gift, and then after you bought it, you present it back to the tree. And so we would do these little kinds of things, and it was nice. It made, you just to give someone that, just to be able to provide that sense of happiness for someone who couldn't really afford to buy that child a gift on Christmas morning. It was a nice feeling. How would we celebrate Easter? Well, we would basically, my parents at that time would take Easter eggs and chocolates and stuff, and they would put them all present them in a nice little arrangement on a couch, and we would always be told that, oh yeah, the Easter bunny's coming in the morning, so it got us excited, especially even, I remember one time we had just come back from living in Ontario, and we were living back in Stephenville, Newfoundland, and I remember we were living with my aunt, and it was Easter time, and my aunt had all these nice Easter eggs and all these toys and everything from my cousin, because he was a little bit younger than me. And I remember I looked at what he had and what I had, and I'm like, no. And I took from his Easter things and I put it to mine, and then I went back to bed. And then in the morning when I got up, I'm like, wait a second, how did that get back there? I wouldn't put that there. And my aunt said, oh, so you did that. So it was, and then I guess, well, at that point I didn't believe in the Easter Bunny after that, but that's the kind of things that were associated with holidays such as Easter. Yes, I always have believed in God. However, growing up in such a place as Newfoundland, that was kind of instilled in us that the belief of God was there. In terms of, did I believe in the essence of Jesus being the Son of God? No, I never believed in that. And I remember in high school, I would always get in trouble and fights with my religion teacher about this matter. My relationship with the Bible, growing up, I remember I enjoyed the stories of that was being told to us about Nabi Noah, or Prophet Noah, the story of Jesus. How Mary would come with Joseph on a donkey, and they would go to a manger, and she would give birth to Jesus. But I remember also coming across a letter, a report card my mother had when I was in grade 2 or 3, and it said on to it that Dawn Marie was always very joyful, very attentive, listening to the religious program, the stories. So it was, I did like those kinds of things. If the daily prayers were important to me, I would say that they were more important now, but at that time, the prayers, I would always say my prayers before I go to sleep. When there was if I needed something, I would always say the St. Jude novena, or it was the prayer of St. Anne. We would say these prayers. Those prayers were kind of indoctrinated into us, kind of thing, from my dad. What did I think of Islam before converting? I really didn't know too much about Islam. I didn't even realize that we even had Muslims living in Newfoundland until after I converted to Islam. I didn't meet any Muslims right away that sparked my interest in Islam. A funny thing that happened was that I was a nanny in Montreal. That's what brought me to Montreal. I had a friend from Nova Scotia who was also a nanny. We were sitting in the metro, and I remember just looking at her, and I'm like, yo, Jay, I'm like, there's a lot of Muslims here, not Muslims, sorry, there's a lot of nuns here in Montreal. And she's like, Dawn, they're not nuns, they're Muslims. And I'm like, what's a Muslim? She's like, oh, they're the ones, she said, that's always covered up. She said, when it rains, she said, they're all running out of the weather, And I started to laugh, and I'm like, okay, so that kind of I didn't know. I said, like they're dressed like nuns. And it's so funny because I even got referred to as the flying nun at home, because I'm the only one with, I guess, that wears a baya. But yeah, that was it. That kind of sparked it right there. From that, I was very curious about why they looked so much like nuns. But it wasn't really after that I had my daughter that I really wanted to know more about Islam. Because before, I didn't want to know anything about Islam. It was kind of the thing that my husband at that time was trying to get me to talk to these people about Islam, and I'm like, okay, you have your religion, I have mine, lakum dinukum waliya din kind of thing. And it was just, sorry, it was just really funny how even that whole incident came about. He had me talking to these Muslims from Syria, and after, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be Muslim. When I did decide, it was because of my daughter. I was sitting down, and I was thinking, I have this baby now, and I have to be a role model for her. I have to do something, at least I have to do something good to show her that I can be a good person. So I went searching then, and I remember speaking to a nun, and I said to her, I'm confused, I really don't know what to do. And she's like, well, what's to be confused about? I said, I don't know if I should raise my daughter as Christian or as Muslim. And so she's like, so do you go to church? I'm like, well, I go when I have to. And she's like, well, what about your husband? I said, yeah, he prays and he goes to mosque, and he attends functions as a Muslim. And she's like, well, he's better than you. So she said, maybe you need to consider raising your daughter as a Muslim. And I'm like, I said, I found this strange coming from a nun. So I thought, okay, so a couple of days later, I had an appointment with the doctor, and it just happened that he's a Muslim doctor. And when I said to him, I said, Assalamu alaikum, he's like, alaikum salam. He said to me, I said, yo, Dr. Ghani, I said, you're Muslim, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, aren't you Muslim? I'm like, no. He said, yeah, I'm Muslim. I said, well, I'm just curious because, I went to the library and I went looking for some books on Islam. He said, you're not going to find no books on Islam in Newfoundland. He's like, come. He said to my office, I have lots of books. He said, if you want to look. So he gave me a Quran, and I grabbed some other little books. But the Quran was the one that I took hold of. And when I opened it up to Surat Maryam. And I started to read the story about Isa, Nabi Isa, and the story of Jesus, and I remember feeling how, like, this is totally different, the way that as a Christian we believed how Nabi Isa is. And I'm thinking, like, this is more respectful of Maryam, the mother of Isa, the mother of Jesus. And as I kept reading it, I said, you know what? I'm going to take the name of Maryam as my name, because my middle name is Murray, which is, it's like Maryam. So I thought, okay, well, this is a good name. First I thought, okay, Fajr. No, I'm like, Fajr is like the prayer, which is still good. But I said, no, I said Maryam is she's one of the 4 women of paradise. So I thought that this would be a good name. So how I would compare Lady Maryam in the Holy Bible to Islam. I didn't find it, that the story of Maryam in the Bible was, it was just totally different how they depict Maryam in the Bible. When they say that she rode in on a donkey with Joseph, and they went and laid in a manger full of animals, and she gave birth in a manger. Okay, how they depicted Maryam riding in on a donkey with Joseph, and her giving birth into a stable surrounded by animals. I just didn't find that to be of what a prophet would be born into. But how they did it in Islam, saying how Maryam was, she was told to go and sit, and she was leaning up against a tree and told to, like, she wanted to eat, and how she was told after, so she ate the dates, and how she was told after to be able to, don't ask me, speak to him. I just find that so different compared to how I was taught. I didn't know that that Jesus spoke from the cradle. I thought that Jesus spoke, well, like any other normal child, and they depict him as being a normal child in the Bible, which he's not. He's considered to be revered as something more high in Islam, and I didn't think about that. And even the mother of Jesus, Maryam, how she's considered to be one of the 4 women of paradise. That in itself is like, it's such a, it's an honor to be able to be held in that position. It's a real honor. And even if you compare her now, you know, how they say, oh, like, why Muslim women dress like this or they dress like that. Well, look at Maryam. Excuse me. Look at Maryam, the way that she is dressed. How can you say that women are being disrespected and oppressed in Islam when you yourself look at Maryam and she's dressed in full garb? What did my family think of my reversion? They were not very receptive of it in the beginning. And still till now, they still have some difficulties accepting me being Muslim. I think it's more because of who I used to be. I still think I'm the fun, caregiving person, and I'll help at any cost, at anything. And I'm always there. I would like to think as myself as being generous. I'm not as generous as Ahl Bayt, but alhamdulillah, I'm becoming more generous, more patient, alhamdulillah. My family did see a difference in me when I convert to Islam. My sister always notes to me, she said, no, you were like flying by the seat of your pants before, but now I see a difference in you. You are more calm, and you look like you're headed to a better place, and you are in a better place than what you were before you became Muslim. And I thought that was nice, you know, like that she noted, she's seen that in me. And even my own family, like they always make this this reference to oh, foreigners, look at those foreigners. I'm like,